for Southern Kentucky's great outdoors on ESPN 102.7 FM and 104 The Score in Glasgow. Brought to you by Bowling Green Refrigeration, Heating and Cooling and Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center. With your host, Brian Webb. Also starring John Kirby and Sergeant J.D. Williams from Mohawk Outdoors. Josh Honeycutt from Realtree Outdoors. Also made possible by Swagger Bipods, the Van Store Bowling Green and Glasgow, your Can-Am headquarters, J&K Used Cars on the Bypass, United Furniture and Appliance, our national sponsor, Big & J Long Range Attractants. Segments in part by Rockcastle Shooting Center, The Rock, and Renegade Marine, featuring Realtree's Michael Pendley Timber 2 Table Wild Game Recipes. Made possible by Pabst Beef Jerky, fueling your outdoor lifestyle. And all phone interviews via the Linex of Bowling Green hotline. Get ready for all things outdoors. Here's your host, Brian Webb.
Yeah, it's time. It's that time. It's Wednesday, 5 o'clock. My goodness, hope you got your holiday shopping done. I haven't started yet. But these two guys probably got it all done, and I'm going to let them tell me all about it. Happy holidays, fellas.
Happy holidays, guys. I actually have started on my shopping. Since last week, I was at 0%. I've got a little done. What about you, Josh?
I think I sent some links to somebody for them to buy something.
There you go.
That
Hey, that's
counts,
done.
doesn't it?
That counts. Absolutely.
It counts like a button bucket counts, right?
That's
you know? I'm getting ready to get Pendley on. Timber to Table, brought to you by Pabst Beef Jerky, fueling your outdoor lifestyle. Man, I'll tell you what, I came in here the other day, one of our my board guy for Tuesday, Casey, he just went in there and I guess he sniffed out the Pabst because I came in here and he's tearing it up. I'm like, where'd you get that? Your desk?
Smart young man.
I was like, no worries, man. You went through that much trouble, tear it up. But I gave him some links and some chips. Good stuff. Appreciate them. We're going to get Pendley on the line. What's going on right now before we get him on the line, guys? What you been up to?
Josh, you been in the woods any? I know you have this week. What you been seeing, man?
Yeah, it's been kind of slow for the most part, but I have seen a little bit of movement. But it's just, the season trend of difficult deer hunting has been my year, and it's continued. But we've got a couple decent bucks that we're watching and got our eye on, and hopefully we'll connect with one of them here during this late season. Yeah,
absolutely, man. A lot of great late season hunting left. Like you, it's a lot. A lot of people are going to be finding it difficult right now. The temperatures haven't quite got down to where we would like them to be, or they need to be for the late season to really kind of get into action. But we're just a few cold snaps away from really having some good late season hunting, I would imagine.
That's good. That's good news, man. I think I got him on the Linex hotline. Linex Bedliners, Roger, Gina, get over there. The Cowans do it right, especially around the holidays, John. Wouldn't you love it if your other half or somebody in the family brought you a Linex gift card and you just got a new truck and there's your Linex bed right there? That's a great gift, man.
Absolutely.
A lot of people would love it. I know Michael Pendley would love it. Timber to Table. You got your ears on there, buddy?
I do, and I would absolutely love that. I need one.
Just in case Cheryl's listening.
Yeah. Yep, just in case she is. What we got going on? What are you cooking, man? I saw you put out a couple of really good posts, Mike. I saw the coffee braised venison shanks and then some low-carb venison meat sauce. I mean, which one are you going with, baby? Door number 2, door number 3?
We're going to talk about shanks tonight. Of course, the shank is just the lower part of the leg, basically from the knee down. And a lot of, it's got a lot of connective tissue in it. It's kind of tough, and a lot of times it just gets cut up and put in the grind pile for burger or sausage or whatever. But you can take those shanks and you can separate it at the knee, and then you take your bone saw and cut off right below where the meat stops. And they basically look like a big turkey leg, especially off a larger deer. And what we like to do with those is leave them whole like that, and we'll slow braising, which is cooking in a little bit of liquid in a low-temperature oven in a pan, and we'll cook them for 3 to 4 hours. And all that connective tissue that's in that shank, all that muscle, that collagen in that connective tissue starts to melt over time, and it melts down into the gravy. And we make that gravy with some red onion and a little bit of celery diced up, a little bit of carrot diced up, and fire-roasted tomatoes, some red wine, some beef stock or venison stock if you got it, a little smoked paprika, some coriander, some cumin, a couple of bay leaves, and to give it kind of an unusual flavor, something that you don't taste a lot, we do a combination of some coarsely ground coffee beans, and I'll just take my favorite coffee bean and put it in the grinder and just hit it a few times just to get it kind of broken down into little small pieces. We'll add some of that to it, and we'll put in some dried cranberries, like the Craisins is the brand name on them. They look like, just dried up cranberries. And we'll put those in. That gives it just a little bit of sweetness at the end, and the coffee adds just a little bit of a rich, not bitter, but just a little bit stronger flavor to it. And, we'll let that cook for 3 or 4 hours with the lid on in a 275-degree oven. And when you take it out, that meat just falls completely off the bone. It's just fork tender at that point. You can take it and just shred it apart, whatever. And what we do is we'll make up a big pot of grits, and we'll put some cheese in them and get them nice and cheesy. And we'll put some of that on the plate, and then we'll spoon some of that shank over the top of it, just the meat. And then we'll scoop up some of that gravy that's cooked together in the bottom of the pot and pour it over the entire dish and serve it that way. It's just a really good wintertime dish.
That sounds incredible, Michael. Are you getting any marrow? Do you get much? Have you fooled with the bone marrow in a deer any, or is there enough there to mess with it, or are you getting some out of this shank?
You get a little bit out because we take our bone saw, the knee joint stays together, so that end of the bone is sealed. So we do take our bone saw, we cut down below where the meat stops on the leg, and you will get a little bit of that marrow. It kind of cooks out over the long, slow cooking process. It's not going to be like an elk or a beef bone marrow. You're not going to get that big, wide scoop that you can scoop out, but it will have some, and it will, kind of melt out into the gravy and add a lot of extra flavor.
Oh, yeah, you're making me hungry.
Absolutely. That marrow just full of flavor, right, Michael?
Oh, it is. There's a, down at Opryland Hotel, there's a steak restaurant down there. I think it's called Old Hickory. And they have got a beef bone marrow appetizer that might be one of my favorite appetizers in the world. All they serve it with is a little bit of it's a sweet, kind of a fruit spread of some sort. I want to say it's apple butter, maybe apple or pear, toast, and you just take your spoon and scoop that bone marrow out that's been slow cooked inside the leg bone, and top it with that little bit of sweetness. And it's one of my favorite appetizers of all time.
I haven't seen you post any pictures of any big bucks, Pendley. Are you still working on that? Or?
It's been slow. Cheryl's the only one so far that's filled her buck tag. Fire Roast has put one in the freezer, and Cheryl, of course, took an antler doe the same day she shot her buck. But other than that, it's been pretty slow. We're counting on. Heard you guys talk about a good late season. We're counting on it to fill up the freezer. We were a little bit picky during firearm season. Passed on a bunch of doe shots, but those does aren't going to get that fast for black powder season, the upcoming black powder season next week. We've got to put some in the freezer and hopefully get on some bucks too. Even our cameras have been slow. It's all been nighttime pictures. A few of them hitting the food plots, but they're only doing it at night. This full moon that we've got right now is not helping that at all. But hopefully by next week they'll get we need a good cold snap to get them up on their feet.
Yeah, we could definitely use a good cold snap to help this hunting. Michael, what kind of late season food plots are you utilizing?
We've got some brassicas, and we've got our clover that's still holding on a little bit. I like the turnips. I like the rape in the late season, especially after we get a few freezes on it. It's kind of hit or miss. Some deer, some farms, it seems like it's the hottest thing out there in the late season. Some farms, they just don't seem to hit it at all. But where we've had them for a couple of years now, they're starting to use them pretty well, and hopefully that's going to draw in some deer.
That's funny you mentioned that, Michael. I've had very similar results with turnips and radishes. It seems like the turnips are an acquired taste. You almost have to the deer almost have to learn to like them. The first couple of years I planted them on certain farms, they very little did they hit them, and then it seems like that third or fourth year is when they really seem to kind of it's almost a learned behavior to get onto those radishes, turnips. I mean.
Yeah, and I think, they get sweeter as it gets colder.
Right.
That's when Pot Roast goes to a stand next to one of the turnip plots, he'll always pull one and take his pocket knife out and peel it and sit there in the stand and eat it, especially late season, because they get really sweet. That's one of his favorite snacks in the stand or in the blind. And it's like you said, I think it takes a while for the deer to get used to them, to figure out that they've got to dig them up or pull them up. And once they learn, they hit them pretty hard, but it takes a little bit, it seems like, sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a solid food source, and for those that can plant food plots, putting those, but basically between a bedding area and a major food source can really be a great way to see a mature deer during daylight, and just any deer in general for that matter.
Michael, what's the next few weeks look like for you guys? I know you all are going to take advantage of the muzzleloader season coming up. Yeah. I'm sure pot roast is still archery hunting, and
it is,
no doubt.
Tell you what, of course, shotgun turkey season's in this week.
Yep.
He bought him a new turkey gun over the summer, so he's anxious to get it out and try it out. So he's been kind of alternating between doing a little fall turkey hunting and archery hunting. But yeah, we're going to hit it hard starting this weekend, and they're calling for a little bit of weather maybe Saturday and Sunday, but hopefully it's going to straighten up, and we'll have a good, decent week at it. I think we're going to hunt pretty hard all week long.
You guys hunt hard every week, Pendley. What are you talking about, man?
Somebody's hunting something.
Hey, real quick before we go, we got about 2 minutes left here, Pendley. I want to find out what everybody's favorite Christmas movie is. I've been thinking about this, and there's some good ones. I mean, you could throw Die Hard in there, Josh. You could throw Elf for sure.
The Griswolds.
What?
That movie is so overrated.
You're too young for that.
I've seen it. It's just so overrated.
Oh, man. I'm telling you, that might be the greatest Christmas movie of all time, man. Christmas Vacation. Christmas Vacation.
It's good for a few one-liners and a couple jokes, and that's it.
If I woke up with my head sewn to the carpet, I wouldn't be anymore. You can't believe that. You can't. I mean, that's the best. Don't rub it too much. Your hands are chapped, Clark. You know. You know, fall down a well, eyes go across, kicked in the head by a mule, grow back in. I don't know.
Everybody's got a cousin Eddie, too.
Everybody's got. I'm kind of the cousin Eddie of my family, actually.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with cousin Eddie.
That's right.
Never.
His outfit choices are classic.
Frankly, I'd rather see the world's largest ball of mud than Eddie. But yeah. Oh, dude, you gotta love Christmas. You gotta love all those vacations, man. They're killer. Hey, what's your favorite movie out there, Pendley? I mean, Christmas movies. Sit down with the family. What do you like to go? What you go to?
I'm going to have to kind of lean toward the Christmas Vacation. I really like that one, and of course we got to watch Elf a time or two.
Oh, I've already seen it twice this season.
Yeah, we have.
That's a good one.
And you know, you don't think about it. Step Brothers got a kind of a Christmassy twist. I mean, a lot of the movies during Christmas. So I mean, I don't know if you could count that one or not. I never watched the Tim Allen ones too awful much. I mean, I like the. Let's do this. Let's do old school cartoons to add with that. I love the original Rudolph. That's so killer, man.
I'm gonna have to go with like a one-way tie with about 3,000 Hallmark movies.
So you're the Hallmark guy of the show. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's a touch of sarcasm there, but no.
And I don't even know comics, so I'm out on that one. But I'm going Christmas Story for me.
Oh, John, great one, man. That was, yes. You'll shoot your eye out, kid. I mean, that's
who didn't have a Red Ryder growing up?
The duck is smiling at me. No, that's fra ra 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 ra. That's a good one, man. Josh, you got a cartoon you liked, man, growing up that you're not too critical of?
Cartoon?
Yeah. Don't you remember the Christmas
Frosty
cartoon?
the Snowman.
Frosty the Snowman. Yeah, it's a good one, man. Yeah,
ground.
Grinch is great. You can't beat. That's a really good one, man. Whoville, baby, Whoville.
In all seriousness, Grinch is probably my favorite.
Yeah, that's a great classic, man. Yeah. Any of the Snoopies, I love that. Yeah, man, good stuff. I love this time of year. We're looking forward to it. We got a couple more weeks of it, so we'll be thinking.
What's your favorite movie?
Man, I tell you, it's hard to say. My favorite cartoon probably Rudolph. Of back in the day, the claymation stuff, the old stuff. I love that stuff. It takes like hours and hours.
The one with
days.
the Yeti.
Yeah, that's got Yukon Jack in it. You ever notice Yukon Jack's got like a 44 in his belt buckle, and the barrel on that thing is like 31 inches long. That's a good one, man. I'm just a misfit, kind of like that kid. But great stuff. Merry Christmas to the Pendleys, man. And we're gonna cut out of here, and we're gonna get Brad Bowles coming up for the Renegade Marine and Outdoor Fishing segment. Pendley, get that. I feel like you're gonna get a monster this week.
I'll settle for a couple of big does. So
you know you can do that.
I'm not even that picky at this point. I've just got to fill the freezer up.
Buddy, we appreciate it. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to y'all, and we'll see you next Wednesday, bub.
Sounds good, guys.
All right, don't go anywhere. We're coming right back. Pendley, Timber to Table, again, brought to you by Pabst Beef Jerky. Get on there and check it out. Fueling your outdoor lifestyle, the best stuff you'll ever eat in your life. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Southern Kentucky's Great Outdoors.
The best gift this Christmas won't fit under the tree because it's a Tracker, Nitro, Regency, or Sun Tracker boat from Renegade Marine. Don't wait till summer. Give your family a new Tracker, Nitro, Regency, or Sun Tracker boat now. Get on the water next summer with Renegade Marine's huge selection. Financing available so you can find the perfect boat and payment. Plus service to make sure you're on the water as much as possible. Get to Renegade Marine, your authorized Tracker, Nitro, Regency, and Sun Tracker dealer. Just off the Western Kentucky Parkway, exit 107. Online at renegademarine.net.
In stores now, Pabst Grippo's Beef Jerky. We have taken the great Pabst Beef Jerky and married it with the iconic Grippo's Barbecue Seasoning. This is a marriage made in beef jerky heaven. The thin cut of Pabst Beef Jerky is dusted to perfection with Grippo's Seasoning. Once you try it, you will know no other beef jerky compares. So the next time you're headed on a road trip to the lake or your favorite golf course, be sure to have Pabst Beef Jerky fueling your outdoor lifestyle. PabstJerky.com. Ask for us at your local store.
Not all spray-in is created equal. For example, spray-in honey. Why are all these bees following me? Or maybe spray-in tanning.
Hey, you missed a spot there on your face. Oh, that's bad.
See Line-X Bowling Green for spray-in bed liners and Line-X truck gear. It's the next level of complete tough gear for your truck. B&W gooseneck hitches, toolboxes, step bars, and WeatherTech doormats. Gift cards now available. Easy, affordable, and rugged. Line-X. Check out more at linexofbowlinggreen.com.
My son had been injured and he was prescribed pain opiates. No one ever told us how highly addictive these drugs were. My reaction was shock. My son didn't get so deep into the dark, scary woods overnight, and it's no straight line coming back. For parents out there who don't have hope, I realize there's a lot of families that are torn apart, but families can heal.
To locate a Kentucky licensed treatment provider near you, call 8338-KY-HELP. A message from the Kentucky Office of Drug Control Policy.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
It's time to go fishing with Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center, 415 Commerce Drive, Litchfield, Kentucky, on SOKY's Great Outdoors.
Yeah, welcome on back, folks. Now, remember, Brian Webb is board op producing, executive producing, and technical producing, so forgive me if something goes wrong, because I can't promise you it won't. But on the Line-X hotline, we've got our buddy, Mr. Brad Bowles. He's the crappie master. Can you hear us on the Line-X hotline, Big Brad?
I got you, Brian, and I want to say happy anniversary to you and Miss Angie.
Buddy, that's very much appreciated, and I tell you what, God bless her, because
she deserves a medal of some sort.
Yeah, you're right, John. She deserves a bronze like they give in the Army, like for valor or whatever, the bronze medal. That's what she really does, Brad. No, thank you.
You know you outkicked your coverage.
Oh, big time, and I'm not starving at the buffet yet either, buddy. I'm getting all I can out of it. She's a good gal, man. I'm very lucky.
Happy for both of you.
You're lucky as well. So is John, and so is Josh. We're all lucky. It's just my anniversary today. 20 years, man. I can't believe I lived that long, much less be married that long. Man, it looks like you guys got into some. I think you and Dean went down south last weekend, and my gosh, John, did you see them two? He's holding up in that picture.
I haven't, but I'm sure they're slabs.
Crap. So I guess you had a good time, but I want to know about that trip, and then I want you to fill us in about Barron, because I know the water's up a little bit up there, John, and I know it's probably making it hard, but Brad Bowes can find them.
You know, if you were to take and go back in the archives to December of last year's show and play it, you could just, pull it up and play it again, because, this same time last year is when we got all that torrential rain. They drew Barron down. It was within 7 feet of Winter Pool, and then it rained.
That was the last.
Flooded. Yeah. I mean, and the lake got destroyed. So basically, this is the same scenario that we had this time. So we said, to heck with it. We're heading south. Dean and I and a couple buddies, we went down and fished Lake Sardis. We fished Enid for a little while, but it was muddy and the fishing wasn't good. And we pretty much spent most of our time on Lake Sardis, which, by the way, has a 12-inch minimum size limit on crappie, if that tells you anything.
Both of those very, very much storied crappie lakes, aren't they, Brad?
Well, they really are. Mississippi has got it figured out that, there's actually 4 down there, that they're all core lakes. They're all managed for trophy crappie fishing. And actually the regulation says that fish 12 and under have to be released. So the fish you catch actually have to be over 12 inches. So it's amazing fishery when you get on them. And, of course, they fish a little bit differently than our lakes here. We pretty much spider rigged the whole time we were there. But it's basically a situation that you can mirror at any lake is you find the bait fish, and that's where you're going to find the fish. And we were able to locate bait fish in a water column that was probably 8 to 10 feet. And we spider rigged and ran our baits just underneath that, about 11 foot deep. And you could see those bigger fish below those schools of bait. They would be down in 14, 15 foot of water. And, man, those fish will come up and grab your lure. So it's always good to kind of start, fishing above those fish whenever you are looking at your return on your sonar. But we had a good trip, caught some really quality fish. The numbers weren't quite what we'd hoped for, but, hey, anytime you can go down there and catch a 2-pound Mississippi crappie, I mean, you can't complain about that.
Yeah, going back to what you said, Brad, about those big fish feeding up, I mean, they're 10 times more likely to feed up than down, right?
They are, I tell you. But as much as you hear that, and of course the crappie, the way their eyes are positioned on their head, they're more likely to feed up. But the more and more Dean and I fish with this live scope, we do see instances where they will feed down. And it's just a situation like as that bait is dropping, if that bait drops in front of them to where they actually see it as it falls and then goes below them, they will go down and then get a bait.
That's the key, right? Them seeing it, though.
Right. Yeah. That's the key, them seeing it. So more often than not, though, you'll catch more fish if you have your bait presentation above where you're marking those fish on your sonar return.
And you said those are core managed lakes, but they're also trophy managed. Is that by the Corps, or is there some other? How's that work?
Well, they're core lakes in that they're for flood control, just like Barron River, Nolan. So they draw those lakes down. As a matter of fact, that was one of the things that was really working against us while we were down there. They were still pulling that lake pretty hard, so there was quite a bit of current going through it. And that always kind of, the fish don't like that pulling water. It kind of affects the bite. So the actual Army Corps of Engineers is controlling that for flood control. The Mississippi Department of Fish and Wildlife has figured out, hey, we've got the fishery here. We've got everything in place here for these fish to grow fast. Their growth rate, even though we're talking 5 hours south, is much greater than it is here. And with these trophy fish, we can make this an attraction for people to come. And they do. People come from all over to fish Arca-Butler, Enid, Grenada. Grenada's, the home of the 3-pound crappie. They catch numerous 3-pound crappie out of that lake.
So, Brad, does the Department of Fish and Wildlife work with the Corps down there, or is the Corps like it is here in Kentucky making decisions solely based on water level?
I would say the Corps is basically, their main mission is flood control,
right,
and making sure that part of it is intact, to where they allow Mississippi Fish and Wildlife to control the fish populations and govern the limits and all that on the lake. It's a 15 fish limit down there, but the fish have to be over 12. So if you're cleaning 15 fish over 12 inches, ain't nobody gonna complain about that.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. What are a couple of things other than the fact that they're managed the way they are? What makes those lakes so great down there? What are some things maybe that we don't have that they do?
Well, the biggest thing is just the genetics and the growth rate. It is a warmer climate, so those fish are going to grow. They just have a faster growth rate, and that just makes those things just get huge. The lakes are full of bait fish. Most of these fish we cleaned had 3 and 4 inch shad in their belly. And, these crappie will eat a big bait. We say this all the time. There's times you want to downsize and use a small bait, but, man, don't be afraid to you ought to see the shiners that they use and sell down there. I mean, you're fishing with a 4-inch minnow most of the time.
Yeah, Brian just showed me the pictures, Brad. Those are some of the fattest crappie I've seen in a while.
Huge, dude.
They had the feed bags on, didn't they?
Oh, they sure did. And, that's what's great about the fall and early winter fishing. Those fish, that's exactly what they're doing. They are feeding and feeding heavily, and that's why actually probably December is one of my favorite months to go after these crappie.
Brad, real quick, man, can you give us a little idea locally? Maybe no land have heard. Have you heard anything?
Well,
CB going off, man. I hope nobody's poaching.
Actually, I'm going up to fish No Lynn tomorrow. I've not been on that lake in quite a while. Of course, the Barren has been high, but it should. At least the water clarity and all should be looking better to where you could probably get up there and catch some fish. The problem is, again, we've gone from one drastic fluctuation. We were within 4 feet of winter pool, and Barren rose 5 feet in 24 hours with that rain.
Golly. What would be your first plan of attack if you were headed to Barren tomorrow and was going to try to catch a limit?
I always target brush starting out most of the time in 12 feet of water. So I'm going to get on the Core Lake report. I'm going to see what the water level is, and then I'm going to find 12 feet, and I'm going to look for brush piles in that depth. Based on the temperature and where I'm marking and seeing fish, I'll either go shallower or deeper, depending on what I'm seeing once I go there. But that would be my plan of attack.
That's excellent stuff, man. Listen, I hope you and Penny and the family have a wonderful holiday season unless we don't get you on before Christmas. And I know you will, and you got a great family, man. That's what it's all about, ain't it?
It sure is. I love this time of year, just getting to see family.
Yep.
It's that's what it's all about. The older you get, you care less if there's a present on the street.
Yep, you're right. And they did stop around 1920 for me. Hey, real quick, favorite Christmas holiday movie?
Favorite Christmas? Oh, it's got to be Christmas Vacation.
Oh,
right?
yeah, okay. Well, there you go, Josh. There's another one. We notch another one down there.
Hey, can I just real quick
Yes.
remind everybody to the Kentucky Crappie Trail? We've got a Nolan Lake Division tournament this Saturday. That's open to anyone.
Johnny, let's go.
And we've got a Barren River Lake Division. Our next tournament is the 28th. So you can take those Christmas presents, whether you get a rod or some jigs, and come up to Barren River Lake and join us. And hopefully the lake will be fishable and we can have some good bags brought in.
Just let John and I know the one Michael Bean is not fishing in, and we might do it.
I know. He's supposed to be fishing the one with us in the 28th. So I'm with you.
Yeah, he's something else. He's really good.
We've got some sticks on this tour now, I'm telling you.
I guarantee you,
I'm sure.
I guarantee you, it's like John Kirby playing in a golf tournament in 1997. You have no shot.
Brad's too humble to admit it, but he's one of those sticks.
Yes, he is. You definitely, you know that. We know
That's
that.
the proverbial blind hog finding an apron.
Yeah. Whatever. Christmas vacation. Who's the cousin Eddie of your family?
It's probably me.
That's what I says me. I'm the cousin Eddie, man. I got the hairdo and everything.
Sisters, they would definitely say
Just need that baby blue suit.
Yeah, exactly. Or you need that the red Speedo with the flippers on, standing on the driving board there. That's it. Melikaliki is the right way. Hey, buddy, it's always a pleasure. Kentucky Fishing and Wildlife, we appreciate everything you do, and we love that you're a hardcore outdoorsman, and I tell you what, we're glad there's guys like you out there roaming around, buddy.
I really appreciate the opportunity anytime I can get on there and talk the outdoors with you guys. I love it. I wish you all a Merry Christmas, too, and just remind everybody this time of year, man, wear your life jackets out there on the water.
Very good point.
And your kill switch when you're running your boat. You don't have much time if you go in the water this time of year.
Yeah,
so
you don't want hypothermia.
Yeah.
And you get,
thanks, guys, so much.
Oh, Brad Bowles, the best. We appreciate you, man. Get you on here soon as possible, buddy. We love having you.
All right, you guys take care.
Thanks, man.
See you, Brad.
See you now. Bye-bye.
Don't go anywhere. We're going to come right back. Josh and John going to get digging, and we got a good half hour left. Gun show coming up at 6, so stick around. But we're coming right back with the Rockcastle hunting and shooting segment here coming up in just a second. Gun show at 6. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. My wife told me not to sing, so I better stop there. Sam Kirtley here from United Furniture and Appliance, and I would love to tell you about United's great selection and terrific buys on Catnapper and Ashley recliners. With over 55 recliners on our showroom floor and over 120 in stock ready to deliver when you want it. We at United are confident that you will find that perfect gift-giving recliner, and I might add at a price that is guaranteed to bring Christmas cheer. Ask about our 2-for-1 low price recliners. Don't forget the kiddos. Santa often shops at United for the absolute best selection of beanbags in South Central Kentucky. In-store financing available, and, as always, service with a smile. United Furniture and Appliance, 10th and State Street, historic downtown Bowling Green.
United Furniture, couldn't ask for anything more.
Well, we're going to have to replace them plug wires. Your steering pump's done went out, too. Going to have to get you a new fuel filter, probably about 4 new tires, windshield wipers, and fluid, because they ain't working either. Then we're going to have to rebuild that chassis, put in a new flux capacitor. Really going to run you around $14,000.
You wouldn't take that guy's first opinion when it comes to working on your car. So why would you take the first opinion when it comes to fixing your HVAC unit? When preparing for the cold, turn to the experts, where your comfort is our concern. Bowling Green Refrigeration, your local Carrier dealer, servicing Carrier and all major brands. If you have heater problems in the middle of the night, call the 24-hour emergency hotline for Bowling Green Refrigeration at 270-782-5391. 782-5391. Get your HVAC unit serviced now to prevent problems tomorrow with Bowling Green Refrigeration, your local Carrier dealer, where your comfort is our concern.
Although hunting to most of us is much more than just harvesting animals, why not better your deer herd's health with Big & J Long-Range Attractant? Big & J is highly digestible, high in protein, and isn't full of preservatives. With Big & J Long-Range Attractants, you're not only exploiting one of the few weaknesses whitetails have, their stomachs, but you're maximizing antler growth, improving overall herd health, and pulling deer from your neighbor's property. So whether your goals are to fill the freezer, kill mature bucks, or both, Big & J Long-Range Attractants will stack the odds in your favor, all the while making your deer herd bigger and healthier.
Couple of hunting in East Beverly Hills getting sorry every day. Me and Duke went as far back in the brush as you could go. The only thing we flushed out was a couple of real estate agents.
It's time to do some hunting on SOKY's Great Outdoors, brought to you by Rockcastle Shooting Center at Park Mammoth Resort, 22850 Louisville Road in Park City, Kentucky.
Yeah, welcome back, everybody. John Kirby in the studio. I got two accomplished writers in here, man. An editor sitting here to the left of me, Josh Honeycutt, John Kirby. You can read them, you can find their stuff, and we'll always tell you where to get it. But, guys, I mean, this time of year, holidays, does it thin out the woods, or, I mean, is it still pretty competitive even though there's a lot going on?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. There's a lot less pressure now that modern gun season's over. A lot of your bow hunters kind of, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's some bow hunters out there that kind of hang it up after modern gun season. So there's still a lot of good hunting to be had, Josh. With that said, we're going to talk some tactics here, some things to do, some things to look for.
Yeah, it can be challenging trying to find deer during the late season. Oftentimes you don't find them where you found them in November. They've moved to new places, and I've noticed several deer already transitioning to new locations. That they basically haven't been there for a while or haven't been there at all so far this season. So it's definitely all about finding where they went, not where they were.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree. And if a mature buck is the goal, that's what you're after. A lot of times you kind of have to forget the idea of that you're hunting deer. You're hunting kind of a different species, and going out and seeing 20 deer while is a success in a lot of people's books. If you're after a mature deer, most of the time you're not going to be in a spot where you're going to see 20 deer. Anyway, with that said, Josh, what are we going to talk about here dealing with late season?
Well, there's quite a few different places that you can focus on. One of those that you hear all the time, everybody seems to mention it at some point or another, but it's the South Slope. And that's obviously going to be more of a factor in hill country, flatter country, not so much. So Warren County might not be as influenced with that as the surrounding counties, such as Barron, especially if you go eastward toward Metcalfe County, Monroe County, Cumberland County. But even those that are here in Warren County around the Bowling Green area, a lot of those actually go out and hunt other counties. So it still applies, and it's still important.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So what do we got? What about these south-facing slopes?
Well, everybody talks about the South Slope, and when we say South Slope, south-facing slopes, there's a lot of reasons why these are attractive to whitetails during the colder months. Maybe not so much during, at other times of the years, but there's probably 6 or 7, maybe 8 reasons why deer are attracted to these, and it's not just about the sun.
Right. All right. Let's go through some of these.
The first thing that comes to my mind when it comes to the South Slope is a windbreak. And basically a south-facing slope, obviously they're on the south side of that. So in wintertime, whenever you're experiencing the bitter cold temperatures that often come in December and January, they're coming out of the north or the northwest, generally speaking. So if a deer is bedded up on the south side of that slope, it basically shields them from that, and it's not, right in their face. That's one of the biggest reasons that whitetails bed on the south slope. It's not the only. There's quite a few on the list. Another is the fact that is the leeward side most of the time in late season, in winter. When we get this far into deer season, most of the time we're going to have a north or a west wind. So if they're on that south or perhaps a southeast slope, if it's a north-northwest, they're on the leeward side of that ridge. And something that we've had Dan Infault talk about at least twice on this show, and this is actually where I learned about this particular concept or theory or whatever you want to call it. A lot of times deer will bed on those leeward sides because they like to bed approximately 2/3 to 3/4 of the way up that ridge. They get the prevailing wind that comes up over the top of the ridge behind them, and they have the thermals whenever the air is rising. The thermals pull up from below, so they technically are able to smell and detect danger from 2 different directions.
Absolutely, yeah, kind of a double whammy there. What's another reason or two?
The more obvious factors are obviously sun related. Sunrise, the sun doesn't actually rise in the east this time of year. It rises in the southeast. So whenever you have that sunrise of the morning coming up in the southeast, it sets in the southwest. So those southern slopes receive more direct sunlight, and they also receive the first sunlight. So that's obviously, when the deer are bedding during the day, they want to bed somewhere where they can get as much sunlight as energy, because that's going to help them conserve some of those calories that they've built up and that they need, some of the fat stores that they've built up to get through the winter.
Absolutely. Yeah, and to kind of go back to the thermals, Josh, man, thermals, it's a really complex topic, and it's not as simple as when the ground heats up, thermals rise. It's not just that simple. because you have different topographies, you have different you might have a green grass here and then a rocky spot over here, and obviously that rocky area is going to heat up a lot faster. So thermals don't just all of a sudden rise everywhere around you. Right. A lot of times it's just pockets of air. So you really have to kind of keep that in the back of your mind when you're setting up with thermals in mind.
Absolutely. And another good example of that is water. If you're if you're on a slope or you're on a hillside or a ridge and you've got a creek that's running down or a branch or any kind of water source, maybe it's a pond. That's going to affect the thermals as well. Absolutely,
and Josh, the place that you and I hunt in Ohio this year, that exact same thing is coming to effect. When I was hunting one afternoon, you and I were both hunting one afternoon, but I was hunting in an area that had a creek coming down off of this ridge, and man, you can really use that to your advantage because when the thermals are falling like that creek really sucked those thermals down the hill. So that's just another thing to put in the arsenal to keep in the back of the mind to use to your advantage.
For sure. Something that is another big factor, and they're all kind of related in some way or another, but air temperature is a big factor on south slopes. Because they get that direct sunlight, they get the first sunlight, they get the most sunlight in a day's time. The air temperature is generally a little warmer on the southern slope than it is on a western or northern slope. It can be as few as 1 or 2 degrees. Sometimes it can be as severe as 8 or 10 degrees. As far as the difference goes between a southern slope and a northern slope. Obviously, a sunny day is going to have more of an impact on that. Cloud cover is going to have impact on that as far as the variance between the north and the south slope. But, deer, whenever it gets brutally cold, and I don't think we have to deal with this quite as much in Kentucky as, say, some of the far northern states like Iowa and Michigan. I don't know that the south slope is quite as potent here as it might be elsewhere, but it's still a factor, especially when we get in to the tail end of December and January when the deer are really run down and they're doing everything they can just to survive.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Josh. And the flip side of that coin is, like you said, here in Kentucky, we don't deal with that quite as much as our northern states. But when we do get those cold snaps that you made mention of, those are really good sure bets, those south-facing slopes during those really cold snaps. So kind of a double-edged sword there.
Right. So the two other reasons that a lot of deer are attracted to south slopes are because of snowpack, and the other is forage. A lot of times the first green forage of the year that appears in late winter and early spring, the first of it appears on those southern slopes that get the most sunlight to help boost germination. But snowpack is not as much of an issue here, obviously, as it is other places. But even though it might not be as potent, it's definitely a factor because every year I find more shed antlers on southern and eastern slopes than I do elsewhere. But, something to think about, too. Don't get too hung up on these south slopes. There are certain reasons why deer avoid them. So that's something we'll talk about a little bit more here in just a few minutes.
Great job there, fellas. Very interesting stuff. Folks, right now, John, I think I can speak for both of you. You would love to have a nice little side-by-side from the Vance store, Glasgow or Bowling Green. I know we all would because not only are they fun, dude, they can help you in the field, they can help you in the woods, around the house. You can't beat it. And right now at the Vance store, they are doing some special things for the holidays. But I tell you, man, even if you want to go four-wheeler, John, I mean, the 2019 Can-Am Outlander Max DPS 570, $86.99. That's a great deal for a nice.
Those Can-Ams are bad to the bone.
They are, man.
They're great machines.
I love the Mavericks. Probably, if I was going to get a side by side, that's probably what I would have. But they've got the Commanders, the fast ones. The fast Can-Ams. They're like 14.6. I mean, these things are nice. Well worth the price. And the Vance store, Dustin, Kathy, they will work for you and work with you. Right now, you can get a Can-Am Defender DPS HD10. That's a 2019 brand new model. We still got the plastic on it, $16,299. So, and it's best bet. Give them a call or just go by and see them either in Bowling Green or Glasgow. And they've got all the lawn equipment you could ever think of. Echo, they got it all still. They got it all. Here in Bowling Green, you can get a hold of Dustin over there, Dustin Vance, 846-1064, 2010 Russellville Road. That's in Bowling Green. And then in Glasgow right there on South L. Rogers Wells Boulevard. The phone number up there is 651-9740. So get a hold of the Vance Store, Bowling Green in Glasgow. Sponsors of the show have been for a couple years. We appreciate them very, very much. And they do take trade-ins, I believe. So, if you got something, you want to get something new, give them a call, and they'll work with you. But we're going to come right back here on Southern Kentucky's Great Outdoors. A little more hunting before the gun show coming up at 6 o'clock. You're listening to ESPN Radio 102.7, ESPNRadio1027.com.
J&K Used Cars is the place to go when you need a quality automobile at an affordable price. Stop in at 670 on the Bypass in Bowling Green and see this week's special. A 2012 Jeep Liberty 4x4 SUV with V6 engine, sport package, chrome wheels, automatic transmission, leather interior, heated seats, much more for only $69.95. Hurry in because at that price it won't last long. J&K Used Cars with over 40 years of serving the community with affordable prices on quality automobiles. Visit J&K on the Bypass and online at jnkusedcars.com.
Well, we're going to have to replace them plug wires. Your steering pump's done went out, too. Going to have to get you a new fuel filter, probably about 4 new tires, windshield wipers, and fluid, because they ain't working neither. Then we're going to have to rebuild that chassis, put in a new flux capacitor. Really going to run you around $14,000.
You wouldn't take that guy's first opinion when it comes to working on your car. So why would you take the first opinion when it comes to fixing your HVAC unit? When preparing for the cold, turn to the experts, where your comfort is our concern. Bowling Green Refrigeration, your local Carrier dealer, servicing Carrier and all major brands. If you have heater problems in the middle of the night, call the 24-hour emergency hotline for Bowling Green Refrigeration at 270-782-5391. 782-5391. Get your HVAC unit serviced now to prevent problems tomorrow with Bowling Green Refrigeration, your local Carrier dealer, where your comfort is our concern.
I am Southern Kentucky Great Outdoors. I am your spirit of the wild, my brother. God bless America. God bless Kentucky. God bless working hard, playing hard American families in the asset column. We are blood brothers.
Yeah, welcome back. You got to love it when the Nuge brings you back in. I tell you what, though, the Nuge is no cooler than Josh Honeycutt and my main man, John Kirby. They're all camoed up. You would think there was a deer back here in the studio, and if there was, he'd be in a lot of trouble. Fellas, always good to have these great conversations, and I know everybody loves it because they tell me, well, you guys continue that killer discussion there.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of great information. Josh has some great stuff there on the south-facing slopes, and that is pertinent. That is stuff that you can use right here, right now, this time of year to take advantage of to fill that buck tag. Or even doe tag if that's what you're after right now. But with that said, Josh, we're going to talk a few reasons why a deer won't be on those south-facing slopes, right?
Yes, the other side of the coin we're talking about now, and there are several factors to consider when you're trying to find, that late season buck. It's not, they're not all going to be located on a southern-facing slope, and that's something to think about. One reason is warmer temperatures. If it's really warm and it's unseasonably warm, there's no need for the south slope. Deer don't need that. So they're going to probably bed somewhere that offers them more security than they would somewhere where they're trying to just get more sunlight. So warmer temperatures kind of takes away from the value of hunting that south slope. So I don't think I would focus, unless a deer is already doing that repetitively and habitually,
yep,
and you've got a pattern on that deer, I don't know that I would focus solely on a south slope otherwise.
Right. Yep.
Especially on those really warm days.
Exactly.
Like a lot of what we've had here lately.
Right. Exactly.
I actually watched them. I only have 2 mature bucks on camera right now on 4 different properties, and it's been a tough year in that regard. But actually, one of the 2 deer that I've been going after for the last several weeks, I actually watched him get up out of his bed yesterday afternoon, and it was pretty cold yesterday, probably the coldest day we've had in at least a week and a half, but even it wasn't on a south slope, it was on an east slope.
Yeah, good stuff, absolutely.
But as we get closer to January, the south slope concept and strategy will become more valuable, hopefully. It all depends on what weather we get, what temperatures we have. But historically speaking, we should get more south slope action as we move deeper into the season. But another reason why deer won't be there is excessive hunting pressure. If there's been an excessive hunting pressure on a southern-facing slope already throughout the season, it's going to pretty much burn the spot unless that area has been rested for a lengthy amount of time.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you can take the best whitetail habitat in the world, and if it's overpressured, the deer aren't going to be there. So, yeah, good point there. What's next?
No major food sources nearby. Food is king this time of year, and yes, a south slope is important, but if there's not any good food sources, if you don't have a quality food source within a half mile, 3/4 of a mile, deer probably aren't going to be there. There might be some, but you're not going to see a large number of deer, and mature deer, they're going to find the best habitat, the best food in the area, and that's where they're going to be. So if there's not a good quality food source within a half a mile to 3/4 of a mile of that south slope, the odds of a mature deer bedding on it are going to drop off dramatically.
Absolutely. Mature deer routinely seek out the best habitat, the best bedding areas. And like you said, this time of year, taking out all the other variables of pressure and stuff like that, if you have a good food source, a good bedding close by, pretty good bet you're going to have a mature buck in there somewhere close, utilizing them both.
For sure. Another reason that they might not be on the south slope is it's lacking early successional habitat. Most of the time these slopes that we talk about, it's timbered. It's woods. And if those woods are big, mature trees, that's going to shade out the forest floor. There's not going to be a whole lot of understory growth. And in areas like that, sure, you might see a deer bedded there. There are still lots of advantages to bedding on a slope like that, even if there aren't a whole lot of brushy type plants there. A deer can see a long ways on those ridges, and again, they're using those leeward ridges to their advantage. But more times than not, if it doesn't have any good, thick, nasty, early successional habitat type growth, there's probably not going to be a mature buck bedding there.
Yeah. Good point.
Even if it is a south slope. And finally, don't overlook other options that are nearby. A south slope, the cousin to that is the southeast and the southwest slope. While they don't receive quite as much of the benefits as the due south slope, a southeast and a southwest are very similar. So, don't get caught up in the south slopes so much that you forget the eastern, southeastern, and southwestern cousins, or slopes that we just mentioned. Deer are definitely going to catch a good number of rays there, and they're going to benefit from the same things as the south slopes do, just not to the degree or the scale that you will on a due south-facing slope.
Absolutely, yeah. The south slope kind of trumps all until you add in the fact that if that south slope doesn't have thermal cover, food nearby, stuff like that. Then all of a sudden it doesn't trump those other slopes. Yep.
Hey Josh, Nick Noble, the Rock Castle Gun Show. It's coming on after this, but I got some questions because I'm in need of I got a buck tag and that south slope thing. So what if you haven't been hunting those south slopes or southeast slopes and you really that hadn't been part of your pattern? So it's going to be a climber going in there trying to find the right wind, and what's the strategy for maybe you haven't scouted those areas as well as you should have, which is probably me, not you. I mean, you.
No, but I've still got a buck tag too, so obviously I haven't done my job this year. It's one of those things where I guess every situation is different, but if it's this muzzleloader season, I would just go in and hunt off the ground. It's going to be quieter as long as you have good visibility. I love hunting on the ground with a firearm. You can get in and out a lot quicker and quieter. Going up a tree, there's a whole lot more risk bumping nearby bedded deer versus being on the ground. Obviously, there's advantages to the tree stand, but it's just one of those things. I don't know. I guess it would depend on the specific scenario.
Okay, well, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, Nick, you're going to get a chance to get out and do some muzzleloader hunting?
Oh, yeah. Definitely going to do that, and I'm going to be back with the bow after that for a while. I mean, we got a little bit of time here.
Absolutely.
And we've got some big deer on camera that we just haven't been able to connect with, and, it's just like, I love solving and cracking the code. It's a puzzle, and you're trying to do it. So, and you guys, I'll tell you what, listen to this show is inspiring to me. I learn every time I listen to this show. I learned something about whitetail deer hunting, so it's really cool.
Well, you said it perfect. It really is a puzzle, and trying to crack that code, and it's just a lot of fun.
And most of the time, it's uncrackable.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very often it is. We've got a few minutes left here. Josh, what's your plans here for the next few weeks?
Yeah, personally, I'm just, like I said, I have on the 4 properties that I've hunted here most of my life. We've got 2 mature bucks on camera, and that works out about perfectly because in the family, my grandfather and I are the only 2 left with buck tags. So hopefully we can notch our buck tags on these 2 bucks that we've been following for pretty much all season long. The deer that I'm actually targeting is a big, mature, 4.5-year-old 7-pointer, wide. He's got big, tall brow tines, about 8-inch brow tines. Not a high-scoring deer, but he's a cool-looking deer. And, man, I've seen the deer probably 7 or 8 times this season. I've missed him once during firearm season, and it's just one of those things where we've been playing cat and mouse all year long, and I'm hoping that it all comes together during our muzzleloader season here. Maybe even this weekend, if not next week.
Awesome. I got all the confidence in the world, that it will happen.
Oh, yeah. I tell you, the deer must be lucky this year if Honeycutt's not bagged one. Hey, I want to talk about a couple things before we go, and we'll be back next Wednesday. Happy holidays, like we were telling. I want everybody that's just tuning in for the gun show to know we all wish you a happy holidays and a merry Christmas and a happy New Year. This year went by quick, fellas, but I want to get we got about a minute or 2 left. Get your thoughts on that world record archery deer that they just killed in Missouri.
Well, it was killed last year, but they finally just got it official.
Oh, thank you. There you go.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, it's a true specimen.
That thing is just. Explain to me how the antlers get like that.
I'm not sure exactly with this deer, John.
It's crazy looking. It looks fake.
Yeah, it can happen a lot of ways. Genetics is obviously one option. Injury is another. Whether that be direct injury to the antler pedicle that's growing, or to the antler.
Makes sense.
To the antler itself during the growing phase, or even a bodily injury. But
yeah, like you just said, Josh, I'm not convinced that a lot of world records and deer that are close to those world record numbers didn't come from some sort of injury, and probably most likely, like you mentioned, a pedicle injury would be my guess. I would venture to say that's the case.
Yeah, these huge non-typicals that you see with just points going everywhere, especially if they have multiple years of history with those deer, and then all of a sudden they just look completely different, or at least they're close enough that they look similar, but then they just blow up and add all these extra. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if it was injury related.
And I should have prefaced non-typicals because that's what I was meaning, the non-typicals there.
Well, as you can see how much I know, folks can know why I'm not chatting a lot during the hunting segment because I didn't know that was killed last year.
You know what kills me too, Josh, a lot of times is they don't even look all that huge, and you're like, man, that's a big deer, and then they score it, and it's something astronomical.
Prime example was the previous, largest hunter harvested deer, which was the Tucker buck down in Tennessee. I think it was 2016, I believe.
Gallatin, Tennessee.
Maybe 2017. I can't remember. Maybe 2016, 2017. But yeah, that deer was one that didn't have a very large frame, but it just had points going everywhere. One of those, I think they call it a cluster buck.
Yeah.
Cluster buck. You better not say that too fast.
Yeah, especially on the radio.
Yeah, especially on the
I wouldn't want to be the
controlled
guy
airways.
responsible for scoring a deer like that. I'm not smart enough to make all those precise measurements.
They had to have put about 1,500 pieces of tape to mark off those points.
Guaranteed.
Great show, guys. Always a pleasure to be around Josh Honeycutt, John Kirby, Michael Pendley. We had Brad Bowles. That was awesome. You want to download this podcast off of iTunes or ESPNRadio1027.com. Do that tomorrow. We'll have it up. But 2 more gift ideas, Josh and John. If you're looking for a car, J&K Used Cars, our buddies over there on the corner right there on 31W, been in business 40, 50 years. Get over there, maybe more. Get over there, they'll take care of you. Also, another one, good United Furniture, get you a new recliner, get you hooked up. Tell your wife I'm going to tell Mom when I get home I want a Chase Lounge. That's what my dad always liked. I like to be able to bend them legs, but he liked to stick them straight out. I don't know. Whatever your preference is, don't go anywhere. We're coming right back, signing off. Thanks to John and Josh and everybody, all our sponsors. We appreciate it. Be right back here in just in a minute with Nick Noble coming up on the Rockcastle Gun Show. Don't miss it. ESPN Radio 102.7, ESPNRadio102.7.com.